Creative Journeys is your go-to podcast for all things creativity. I'm your co-host, Dave Petrosky, chair of the Communication, Media, and Screen Studies Department.
And I am your co-host, Melanie, Venezuelan designer and educator. This is the podcast about creativity, what it is in its many forms, and how we can become more creative in our everyday lives.
Okay, so welcome back. It's been a while.
It hasn't been that long.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening to the podcast, it doesn't seem like that long. But for us,
it was a long time for us.
It was a long time for us because we had a couple of trips that came in the middle and all that kind of stuff. So, we're getting back into the swing of things. So we'll have a couple of episodes coming up in rapid order moving forward. But and then we have winter break. So that'll
I'm so excited for winter break.
Oh, me too. Me too. We've got quite a bit to talk about because we have a great guest today,
Yes.
Jess Gleason from our World Languages and Literatures Department.
And I am so excited to learn more about you, Jessie, because we're vecinas. Somos vecinitas. She's the best office neighbor that anyone could ask for. But professionally, I don't think I know much beyond that. You are a Spanish professor and you
Right.
go to Patagonia.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Yes.
So I'm excited for you to tell us a little bit more about what you do, how you got to where you are now as a professor, because we always love to hear sort of like how that journey went through, and then just hear how creativity is embedded into your day-to-day life.
That sounds great. Yeah. How far back do you want me to start?
Wherever
Yeah.
you'd like, really.
All
We're this isn't necessarily just terribly structured or anything like that. You start. Where'd you go to school initially? Graduate work or?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I did my graduate work in Iowa.
Okay.
In Ames, Iowa. I started in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2009, my husband and I and our young daughter, she was only 3 months old, Violeta, we moved back to the U.S. from Chile,
Okay.
where my husband is Chilean and my daughter was born there, but we moved back to do our graduate school there. Jorge is an architect by training, and so he ended up doing a master's in architecture there at Iowa State. And then I ended up doing a doctorate in applied linguistics and technology.
Oh, nice.
And while I was living in Chile, I ended up doing a master's degree down there in linguistics. So I felt like I love linguistics and language, but I felt it was maybe a little theoretical for me. And so that was what got me interested in applied linguistics. And so that was kind of the journey. Let's see. So yeah, that's.
Do you? You were saying that linguistics and technology. Do you bring that back into the work that you're doing now, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
What kinds of things are you doing in your teaching or in your research, whatever?
Currently, well, I'm actually doing a lot of podcasts right now. So that's why I was so delighted and honored to be featured on a podcast, because this is my first time actually being a participant in a podcast. So we are doing podcasts in 2 of my classes.
Okay.
Melanie was actually a visitor, a guest in my Spanish conversation class.
Okay.
And so they are doing podcasts. It's rather open
Right.
in terms of topic for who they want to interview and what they're interested in. They can go in many different directions with that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. We're trying to get more student involvement in the podcast, and actually, it's like maybe a good opportunity for us to plug our internship.
Yes.
Because we are looking for interns to help us to promote our podcast. So if folks are interested in that, you're an undergraduate and looking for internship credit and that sort of thing, you can kind of join us. Our email address is creativejpodcast at gmail.com. Yeah,
That's all you, Dave. That's
Yeah.
all you. I've said
Yeah.
I'm not going to remember that ever.
Jay's giving me the thumbs up. I got it right.
Jay will put it on the screen.
Yes, that'll come up later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for folks to just talk with one another. And I mean, I think that's one of the best things about our podcast is that we get to talk to great people that we don't get to talk to every day. Like we don't necessarily we might cross paths in a committee or something like that, but then you're doing the committee work and that kind of thing, and you never get to talk about, well, what's my work or So that's why we're delighted to have you here, and I'm really interested in your linguistic connection, because I mean there's a major movement in communication study that's all about the linguistic turn and like talking about how language is sort of fundamental to our understanding of how people make meaning and are able to understand each other and everything. And so I've been, even though I'm not multilingual myself, I know the advantages and also the, just sort of the richness that comes with having a multilingual background. And I think that that's something that I'm really, I'm intrigued by and appreciate, but also a little bit envious of, because I took French in high school and I was able to read, but I could never really speak it that well because I have a lazy American tongue. So I could barely spit out my English words, let alone anything else. But I could understand things pretty well, and I could read, Camus and that kind of stuff. But that's as far as it went, and now it's atrophied. And now I can't even.
I think
track.
it's very refreshing, and obviously we don't hear this on the day-to-day because it's not our area, but how technology gets incorporated into learning another language or making sure that you're practicing and staying active and thinking of, let's do podcasts. I remember when I was a kid in Venezuela, one way that my parents make sure that I wouldn't lose my English is that I had to go to English classes twice a week, every week. And sometimes they felt a little bit boring because I knew that I was more advanced than the other students, but there was only so many levels up that the after school program could have me. And there was not much technology included. It was all like, okay, we're gonna talk about this topic. Maybe I have a vague memory of maybe in a class doing things with music and doing some music translation, but beyond the typical, granted I'm talking about 20, 30 years ago, beyond the typical, here's this monitor, put this headphones on and listen to this conversation.
Yes.
There wasn't anything beyond that. And I remember my brother, who was younger than me, he picked it up, I would say quicker than I did, just with video games. And I always thought that was interesting too, how video games, I didn't think about it at that moment. I know about this now because even you use video games in some of your teaching materials too.
Yeah.
How we can really just use technology to learn new things and experience new things in different levels.
Yeah. I mean, how are you? You said you're doing podcasts and that kind of stuff. I mean, what are some of the other things that folks are doing in language learning right now that involve technology? I mean, we hear about Duolingo and all that kind of stuff all the time, but what's the sort of state of the art? I guess I'm curious. What's your thought on that?
Oh, well, I mean, people are doing so much with technology and language learning right now. I mean, you mentioned video games, so there is a lot of work with that. I personally don't play video games. It's kind of a paradox for me because on the one hand, I study technology and language learning, but on the other hand, I'm very conscious of, you know, especially with my children, how much technology they have in their lives. So we don't have video games. We actually don't have a television at home.
Oh, wow.
My son, he's 14, does not have a phone yet. And I think, you know, that sometimes people are surprised to hear that because I do a lot of work with language learning and technology. So I would recommend, I know we were talking about conferences before, but there is a great conference, Calico, the Computer Assisted Language Instructional Consortium, which is kind of a medium-sized conference that I attend regularly, and that is a great place if you are, you know, interested in different ways that technology is being incorporated in language learning. You know, here at Southern, we have one of the reasons that I was really impressed when I came to Southern back in 2014 was we do have 2 state-of-the-art language labs, which students in the lower division courses, so Spanish 1, 2, 3, and you know, the other languages, French and Italian, we have language labs where they go once a week to a physical location. And the role of the language lab is changing, I think, and has been changing. So I can go off into that direction a little bit more if you want. But, I mean, yeah, there's many different ways that language learning can use technology, but I guess personally for me, I'm also very aware of the off-grid experience, which is really like turning our phones off, connecting human to human.
I'm terrible at that.
So, yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things that, you know, we had started to talk about it off mic, and we said, oh, let's save it. But I went to a conference recently for the National Communication Association, and one of the things that there's a division at NCA that's the experiential communication or experiential learning division, and you know, one of the panels that they had is like, what's the value of college, right? And they were trying to answer that, and part of what they were talking about is how experiential learning becomes like one of the greatest selling points for what a college degree can give you, right? Because it's sort of turning towards the practicality that, you know, and I think that that's part of what the discussion was revolving around, is that, you know, parents and students have kind of changed their thinking about education as a workforce development investment, right? So how does it help me to get a job? That sort of thing, rather than thinking about intellectual and social development and those kinds of things. Although they're bundled together and you can't have them, you can't separate them out. But I think that one of the things that comes through very clearly is that when we have experiential sorts of I don't know, exercises or even just more rich and broad experiences, then the students start to have more personal interactions. They begin to understand and appreciate culture, their own culture, but also other people's cultures better, and all those sorts of things. So, I mean, it really ties in well, because I know that you do a trip to Patagonia, and you know, actually, my daughter went with you last winter. And it was such a transformative experience for her. And she was, you know, she had Spanish in high school, but she hadn't really done any Spanish courses at the college level at that point. But just getting the appreciation for the culture and the, just being out in the world was just such a rich experience for her. And she, it changed her. And it doesn't seem like a 2-week period would be able to do that, but it really was. And she came back with just a different perspective on pretty much everything. And I give you a ton of credit for being able to manage that, because I don't know how I would be able to do. But can you talk a little bit about that whole program and what you do and how you approach it?
Absolutely. No, it was so fun to have Elena on the trip, and it's just kind of almost magical how things worked out for her and for each student who went. I feel like each of them, we had 6 who went with us.
And that last year was the first time, right?
Exactly, yes. So last year was our pilot project. We had 6 students, and Elena was actually our INQ student. So first semester freshmen take our INQ course, which is inquiry. And my co-director for the Patagonia program and I, Dr. Sean Grace, who's the chairperson of biology, and I ended up co-teaching that course for the first time for both of us last fall. And Elena was our student in that class, which was themed around Latin America and environmental travel. So very interdisciplinary program by design, open to anyone across the university. We had, everyone from a first semester freshman go to a graduate student in the public policy program through poli-sci, as well as, we had, who else was on the program? Cam, who is going on again this year. We have 2 students who are going again, who Cam's going to be a Spanish teacher, and he also just adopted a second major in coastal marine science.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
So that was something I think that came out of that experience for him. Jarelis is in the psychology program, wants to work with bilingual kids, currently working in that field. And then who else? Nathan, who is in the honors college, who's a biology Spanish double major. And then I'm leaving someone.
What
and
a
then
great mix.
Alex, who's in EGMS. He's interested in environmental. So really anyone, that was by design. Anyone can participate in this program. And we hope that it will be transformative for them. Sounds like it definitely was. But in Elena's case, she is an archaeology major. And so I hope she won't mind that we're talking about her.
I hope not too. So, Dad, why are you talking about it?
But so we actually ended up going to this national park called Yendegaya. Yendegaya in the Yagan people, the native peoples of the Tierra del Fuego region, means deep bay. So this place has just amazing history. We took a boat from Puerto Williams, which is it's the southernmost city on Earth. So it's actually considered part of Antarctica region, has a sub-Antarctic climate. And we took a boat from Puerto Williams to Yendegaya, which is a national park. And Elena has been, working with archaeology. I think you mentioned that she's going to do the program, the master's program in archaeology, which has to do, I think, with cultural preservation.
Yeah.
And so it was amazing because Elena was taking a walk on this pristine beach where really no one else, because the park isn't open to people yet, to the public yet. They're building a road because essentially they have to build a road to cross a mountain range. So the Cordillera de Darwin, which is named after Charles Darwin, because he took the Beagle, the HMS Beagle, we crossed the Beagle Channel to get to Yendegaya. And so they're building a road from the other direction, from the north, to cross the Cordillera de Darwin. And so it's scheduled for, I think, 2032 is when the road is going to be open to the public. So the park is not open to the public yet. And so I think Chile is really grappling with their cultural and archaeological heritage and how to preserve that while at the same time promoting tourism and building their economy. So just to be there in that place with researchers from the Cape Horn International Center, the Cheek Center, which is based in Puerto Williams, was a once in a lifetime experience for all of us. And Elena was walking on this beach and she found a spearhead. She just happened to glance down and she found a spearhead. And I think it was just like, whatever, somebody placed that in her path. And so it gave us the opportunity to talk about, what do we do with this? And so we ended up, so where we were staying, we were camping in Carabineros. So the police, the Chilean police have an outpost there in Yendegaya. And they can only access it by boat. So we talked to the Carabineros, and we explained, that we found this spearhead, and we want to do the right thing because, as we know in the past, explorers haven't necessarily managed their cultural resources as well as they could have, honoring the communities and the people of those places. And so that was just an amazing opportunity for her. So, yeah.
She was so torn over that whole thing, and she was so stressed out, and then it just made her have conversations that she was not expecting to have, and to just because she's very shy for most of the time, and so just having the opportunity to kind of like share this thing, and then like be sort of have her experience sort of elevated a little bit, and it was just like, oh my gosh. So her whole story is very dramatic in the way that she tells us.
It was
she was so, because she got so panic stricken and like, oh my gosh, what do? I don't want to take this, but and the funny thing is that I believe the way that things unfolded was she decided to leave it with the faculty that were on the trip that were from
Cape
Chile.
Horn International
Yeah, right.
Center. Yeah.
And they decided that they didn't want to keep it, so they mailed it back to her here.
Oh my God.
So she now has this in her possession. She was like, I don't know what to do with it now. And she's all nervous and about it and everything. So it's adorable, but at the same time, just like it was such a rich experience and sort of accidental, sort of just being in that moment and just being able, and the deep connection to the past, like that.
But imagine just, and I'm not that spiritual, but I do believe in signs. Imagine that sign that it was her who found it, who saw it, not another student, but her, and that connection that it built with her interests, her path. I'm sure that even like made it a step forward into thinking of like, yes, I'm gonna do the master's in archaeology, right? Like how all of that. Oh, she needs to encase this and then just put a little like plaque in there, like from my trip to Patagonia this year.
I said, this is the first piece in the Elena Petrosky collection,
Yes.
I mean, I just can't applaud you guys enough for the trip and making it accessible to students, because this is, and it is I know that it can be expensive to go abroad, and a lot of students don't do full semester study abroad because it is so expensive, because you basically have to relocate to another country for a whole semester, and that is a lot. It's not just that experience. So when you're doing something that's for a 2-week time period or something, it becomes much more manageable. less expensive, and also if you get grant funding and that sort of thing, it makes it so that it's much more affordable for students, and I think that that's something that we kind of miss sometimes with the study abroad opportunities, is that it might not be like the extended kind of live there kind of experience, but I mean, it proved to me the value in even just a 2-week sort of experience, because it does, and especially the kinds of experiences that she had. I mean, just they were tagging birds and that kind of thing, and she has pictures of, sort of,
I mean, I keep telling Jessie that one year I'm just going to join as her assistant or something.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just going to be part of the trip.
I know.
Yeah. I need a graphic designer, so.
Vamos.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, it's such a great program, and I do love it. And one of the things that I also wanted to kind of sort of tag into this is just this idea of the experience of it, and the experience, and how important having different experiences to education. Because it helps to broaden horizons and ways of thinking and that sort of thing. And that's, I think, for me, I think that's one of the things that folks miss about language learning, is that that's what it's actually doing. You're not just learning the language, you're broadening your horizons, right? Yeah. And I think that's something that folks shortchange a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, what can we do in 1 or 2 or 3 semesters of language study? I mean, by design, it was always meant just to plant a seed for folks and give them the opportunity to, actually be successful or fail. I know it's, it's not a comfortable experience for a lot of students to basically go back to being a baby and have to communicate in this language that may or may not be, we have a lot of heritage speakers of Spanish, so maybe they learned it growing up in their homes. So it holds a special home place for them. We have second language speakers like myself. I didn't learn Spanish at home. And just to tell you a little bit about my own language learning journey. So I was required at university, at undergrad, to take 4 semesters of a language.
Wow.
And I always say that I ended up, I majored in Spanish. That wasn't the plan originally. I was pre-med. So I was going to major in chemistry or biology.
Big change.
I know.
See,
I love
this
the
is why
sciences.
we love to hear the stories.
Yes, this is great.
Yeah, I love the sciences, and I grew up, my dad is a physician, and so it was always kind of like, okay, you're going to go to school and, be pre-med and then go on. And so the 4 semesters of Spanish were required. And so I ended up making a huge change, having the opportunity to study abroad. I think for me, I was really fortunate because in high school, I had the seed planted for me. And my high school, and I'm from West Michigan, so we had, I think it was the first year of our summer, it was 5 weeks in Salamanca, Spain in 1996 that I had the seed planted for me. And it was a very supported experience. I always say, I learned Spanish, and I hear this from students all the time, is, I took Spanish in middle school, high school, college, but I never really, could speak the language. And that was my experience too, even after Salamanca for 5 weeks. And I think just by taking a leap of faith my junior year in undergrad ended up, because of those first 4 semesters, which I think if you go back and look at my report card from those classes, the teacher said, well, Jessie's going to have to do a lot more work before she can, aspire to speak Spanish. And, I was a junior, and I was just like, you know what? to be honest, like for me, it's either take this third year abroad. I wanted to continue with Spanish. I hadn't seen much of Latin America, so I'm like, okay, my university has a program in Chile and in Ecuador, and I've always been curious about Chile, this very long, long country with like the Andes as a backbone. So I just, like took that leap of faith because I knew if I didn't study abroad that year that I probably wasn't going to come back. And so I always like to leave space for that possibility for students because for me, that was my reality. Like it was a choice of either dropping out of college or spending a third year just somewhere else because I was just, at that point in my life. So I took that leap of faith. I went, and when I arrived to Santiago, a city of 8 million people, like I could not pick up the phone to rent an apartment for my life. Like I still, even though I had studied Spanish in the classroom for I don't know how many years, I still didn't have that proficiency to be able, or courage, or comfort or faith in my ability to speak Spanish. So I hear that story from a lot of students, and that's one of the most rewarding things about teaching Spanish and leading students on these immersive, life-changing experiences is like at some point they realize, just like we all realize, like humans, there's more people on earth who speak more than one language than there are people who just speak one language. So I think it's like 60 to 70% of our world speaks more than one language. So humans are meant to do language. We can do this. It's just a matter of making that investment. So for students who, it's unfortunate, in my opinion, that we have cut back on language requirements. This happened here at Southern a few years ago as we reduced. We had 3 semesters of a language, and now it's only required 2 semesters of a language, because I think for a lot of students, that 3rd semester and 4th semester in particular are when they start to succeed.
Yeah.
And they start to see, oh my gosh, maybe I can do this. And maybe then, like they minor in a language, or they have the opportunity to study abroad. So I forgot what we're talking about, but.
Did you meet your husband during that study abroad trip?
I did not, no. So I always made the promise to myself when I studied abroad in that 3rd year in Santiago that I would come back and I would finish my degree. So I did a full year in Santiago, made great friends, kind of like found myself, and came back. But the day of my graduation from undergrad, April 22nd, 2002, I was not at my graduation ceremony. I was on a one-way flight back to Santiago because I just loved it. And I had, basically told myself, you have to go back, you have to finish, but then you have the freedom to, go wherever life takes you. So I ended up going back and being able to, because I'd always thought maybe I wanted to be a teacher. But I wasn't willing to, commit to it. I wasn't sure, but I knew that in Chile I could teach and get some practice to see if that was my path, and it ended up being my path. So I ended up staying for about 10 years there and meeting my husband at year 7, actually. I did my master's down there. I worked at the university. I worked at a bilingual high school for about 3 years, teaching British and American literature to 10th through 12th graders, which was fabulous. It was this Catholic high school, and I'll just never forget the people there were so wonderful. So I knew after that experience, I knew I was a teacher, and met Jorge, and one thing led to the next. Our daughter Violeta was born, and we both, Jorge, I ended up meeting him through a colleague that I had at the university, and she was giving him private English lessons. because he was applying to scholarship in architecture, primarily like in, he's always been interested in like in the Nordic architecture, like in Finland and those sorts of places. So he was thinking, oh, I'm going to study there, or maybe I'll apply for a Fulbright scholarship. But kind of similar to your experience, Melanie, with English, like he had never really been motivated, I think, to learn English. So once he had that external motivator, he was like, okay, I'm all in. And so our colleague said to him, I think you need to, you've graduated with me. You need a native speaker of English to have conversation. And I
have the perfect girl for you.
And I later found out that she did something similar for me because I've always been interested in the outdoors and hiking. The Andes are right there. I love, in university and high school in Chile, they have like a sport called montañismo, which is basically like mountaineering. So Jorge had done that all through. He participated as a scholarship recipient in the National Outdoor Leadership School, NOLS, which is a U.S.-based educational organization. They have like a branch in Patagonia, so they offer a scholarship to one Chilean recipient, and he earned that. And so, I don't know if he's talking to us, but he was like, I think saw that.
Oh, he was trying to get our attention?
Oh. No, not at all.
Oh,
I
okay.
was pointing at something, and I didn't mean to distract you. Carry on.
Okay.
Oh, that's okay. It happens all the time.
So anyway, she told me, I have this mountaineer. You guys can go on these hikes and have a lot of conversations. And so, she set us up, and that's how I met him.
Yeah, well, I do tell friends sometimes when they're trying to come, or because obviously I had a lot of friends that were doing like the 6th year of high school in Venezuela because it's only 5 years. Yeah. Okay, let's do the 6th year so I can learn something. I'm always like, get a boyfriend. Get a girlfriend.
That's it.
Like, really, that's it. Yeah. Really immerse yourself in the culture because we are instinctively going to find friends from our own culture that we feel comfortable with. Yeah. But if we find a partner, that makes us feel a little bit better to get out of that comfort zone and be uncomfortable for a little bit until you pick things up.
Yeah. It's like structured discomfort
in
a way.
Yeah.
Like that you have differences, but there's that envelope of love that
exactly.
holds it.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I think that's it. There's not. I don't want to like make this totally like an academic kind of a conversation, but I think that's part of good learning practice or good teaching practice is to be able to make a safe space where you feel like you can take risks or embarrass yourself or do whatever it is that you're trying to learn, and not be sort of crushed by the experience or something like that, or feel overwhelmed by it. And when you have a partner in it, that changes how you're doing it. Right? Like, it makes it so that it is safe.
But even we talk about it a lot, too, how we really try to make our classrooms a safe space for the students to be uncomfortable and feel okay with doing that.
Yeah. And, it's I think that it's probably more acute in a language learning kind of situation because there's a lot more uncertainty. Like, am I using the right word, or am I using the right syntax, or whatever? And I mean, that's not usually what the students would think about. I'm saying that as an academic, but the basic idea is like, there's sort of this anxiety that comes with the performativity of it, and I think that that's also the thing that becomes part of what I think about in the classroom is like Melanie's saying, is like, how do we use that sort of discomfort not only as a sort of a challenge to what the students are doing and their experience, but use that for a pedagogical advantage, or try to help them to use that discomfort to kind of call attention to the things that we're trying to learn. And, it's things that, and this is just an opinion, but I think that our educational system tries to make it so that learning is painless. And I don't think that learning is necessarily...
It's very painful.
It can be, right? And when you're doing it well, it's stretching your boundaries, right? And you have to use your brain in ways that you hadn't thought of before, and that becomes, that's a strenuous activity. And if you're doing it well, it's expanding things and it's making your brain work harder and that kind of thing. And I think that there's, sort of when they get to the college level, there's this sort of resistance to engaging with that. It's growth, right? I mean, that's basically what it is. It's like growing pains, right? So, when I say pain, I mean, I'm not saying agony, although some students act like it's agony.
Of course, but I always share with my students my MFA experience because I loved it. I loved my MFA, 3 years, nonstop, full-time, no sleep, failing in projects, crying with projects. Mm-hmm. And it's yes, it was 3 painful years where I'm like, oh, I have to write academically.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, I have to write this huge thesis that is going to be 100 pages. I'm a designer. Where do I even begin? But at the same time, I loved every minute of it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that I like to instill in the students. Enjoy the process. It's part of it.
Exactly. It's not point A to B. It's more of a circuitous path. In fact, in hiking and mountaineering, it's that path A, B up the mountain is not the best path because oftentimes you don't arrive, you end up rolling back down or, don't succeed. It is that circuitous path which offers space for opportunities to come up, like finding the spearhead or discovering maybe you want to change your major or, just being open to possibilities that do require a leap of faith.
Yeah, and I think that that's definitely true. And I there's I get this a lot from students. I try to teach them how to do thumbnail sketches and that kind of stuff through visual note taking, right? So we start with talking about how do you do visual note taking, and basically it's just the idea of trying to capture some sort of an abstract thought, but rather than writing it in words, try to, maybe make a doodle or something that's going to help you to kind of convey what the meaning is, right? And it helps you to remember it better and all that kind of stuff. But the students are so resistant to do it because they're like, I don't know how to draw. And I'm like, well, but that's why you're in school. Is to figure these things out, right? You need to try these things. Mm-hmm. That's how you get better at them. It's not, you don't take classes because you already know the stuff. You take classes because you want to know the stuff. And that I think is also, maybe that becomes something that is tied into how we advise students or, how we help them to prepare for their education and that kind of stuff. I don't know. I guess I find so many students are kind of lost in their own education, right? That they just are not clear about what they're curious about or what they want to do, and they're more fearful about things because they just don't know. And, I think that, having experiences that kind of open their eyes to the possibilities and that sort of thing. This was, taken back to the experiential sort of things. And this was one of the things that and I know maybe it was my daughter's experience that kind of opened my eyes to it, is having that kind of experiential opportunity early on, right, is potentially more transformative than when we think about internships, for example. We think about internships as a culminating experience, right? They work towards getting an internship at the end of their degree. And that might be the worst place for them to do it, because then what are they doing there? Like then it's just career prep, right? And it's not necessarily like integrated into their learning. But if you do it earlier, right? If you do it as a freshman or a sophomore, and maybe have a less intense sort of internship experience, then the students are going to be able to integrate that into what they're learning. They're going to be able to, their eyes are going to open up to the possibilities of what they're experiencing, and maybe make them a little bit more brave in their education moving forward. So, one of the things that came out in the conference discussion that we were talking about experiential learning was just the idea that, we need to stage our experiential activities so that they're more developmental rather than summative.
Yeah.
Right? Because as soon as we start to kind of say, okay, you're working towards this thing, it has a finality to it. And, many students, like if they take an internship as a senior, what they're not going to necessarily have the opportunity to debrief or to reflect on that. And that's one of the things that college actually provides, is the opportunity to just think about who you are and what you're doing. Like, you don't get, when you're in your profession, you don't get the opportunity to do that all the time. In fact, a lot of professions don't really give you the space to do that at all. And, some, when we talk about, teaching and doing, teachers have professional development requirements and that kind of stuff that kind of force them into positions where they're questioning their teaching practice or learning something more about their teaching practice. But that's not the usual path that people are taking in their professions. And I think that's one of the things that I think is so valuable about integrating and this is part of the reason why I always encourage students to not put off taking their language courses. Take them as soon as you get here, right? Because that's when it's going to have the greatest impact on you, and then it's going to help you to think better about your experiences moving forward, and then maybe give you the opportunity to do more with it, right? Because if you wait until the last semester possible to do it, then it's cutting off your own possibility. If you decide that, oh yeah, I like this, but now I'm out of time. I can't take any more classes. I don't have any more electives left.
There's no electives, and I always like to share with the students, we are in a very cultural world. We need to be bilingual. We need to know something else beyond English or beyond Spanish, if they're just a native Spanish speaker. And this is why you need to take those language courses at the beginning, because you don't know if you're going to enjoy this. And that way you can explore it more. Or you don't know that the language that you picked first is the right language for you. Maybe you end up switching from Spanish to French. Or from Spanish to ASL. And you need that time to explore all those options.
Yeah.
Well, we are running out of time. And there's so much more that I want to talk about. This happens every episode.
Everyone. We always run out of space, right? Jess, it was such a pleasure to talk with you, and I'm so glad we did get a chance to finally sit down. We've crossed paths many times, but just never really had a chance to talk. So this was great. I do want to put another plug for our internship. I did it earlier, and we just ended with a conversation about internships, but our internship is intended to be one that's developmental, right? So
interdisciplinary.
Right, that's right. If you're interested in podcasting and social media and that kind of stuff, and you want to learn more, that internship possibility is a good option for you. And we're also soliciting suggestions and feedback on the show, as well as guest opportunities and all that kind of stuff. So remember, it's creativejpodcast@gmail.com, and we're looking forward to hearing from everyone about the show and input into what we can do as we move forward. We'll see you
on the next episode.
See you soon on the next episode.
Thank you so much, Jessie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Creative Journeys is a podcast produced at Southern Connecticut State University by faculty, students, and staff who are interested in exploring our creative potential.